Previously on Level Up with Jay Miles. Like life is going to throw us unexpected punches, but it's the discipline that we have to help train us for what's coming. If you want your mind to be free, level up, y'all. To see the kingdom with me. Where's it at? It's inside of you, it's inside of me. That's right. So let go and let God be free. If you want to be free, then today's your opportunity to go up a level with me. Come on, y'all. My kings and queens. Hey, everybody. We are continuing from last week's episode from discipline, and Kia has something to say about the discipline I think you want to hear. Come on. What you got, Kia?
So I'm going to say something, and I want you to think about it real hard.
Oh, okay.
So when we go through certain things, this is for some of the people that's in school right now, you be like, oh, man, we got a test. Oh, man, I ain't about to do that. I'm not about to study. Studying is going to help you. Everything that you study is going to be in a test, most likely. But for the questions that you don't know, you lock that in your head so later on you can learn from that. Just like the lessons that we learn from the Bible. The stories in there is messages for us to better ourselves. So when something goes bad, you don't be down on yourself. You don't get depressed, because most of all, you're going to get depressed. You're going to be sad. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to be like, I need to finish this. I need to do this. But you got to take your time and do one thing and make a list. If you make a list and then you check off things, you're going to see that you actually accomplished a lot of things that you didn't even acknowledge. So when you take these tests at school, it's a lesson. So when you read the Bible, that's also a lesson. It's to prepare us to better ourselves. It's for a reason. So take that in for yourself and always be positive. It's always going to be negative people. That's why we have a devil. You have negative people. You always stay positive. They don't deserve that energy. Don't give that to them. You keep that in yourself and you use it to become who you want to be, not who they want you to be, because it's going to be people that bring you down. And, of course, they're going to want a response from you. So just be like, oh, yeah, I get it. But in your head, you get yourself together.
That is so good. That is so good. And you know what? It's crazy because, like, my daughter Hannah, she'll always say, Dad, why am I having to take a lot of these classes that we're not going to even use in life? Right? And I'll be honest with you, she's right about a lot about what she's saying on that. But the craziest thing is the fact that can we still be disciplined enough to know that, okay, even though we're not going to maybe use that in life, but how can we still use that to better us mentally? Is that good? Anybody want to piggyback off of that? Come on, Michelle.
I'm at high school. There's plenty of classes that I feel like for my path that I want to go down, which I feel like God is leading me slowly but surely. I feel like a lot of the classes I take don't have anything to do with it, but out of all the classes, not necessarily what they're giving me or standing in front of the classroom and teaching or putting in the PowerPoints, I'm learning stuff from my friends as well, from my peers, from the people I meet in these classes. Yeah. Because, you get to high school, you do have some classes where you don't know anybody, but then you make friends and you meet new people, and they teach you things, whether they're good or they're bad. But it's up to you to decide, hey, is this going to help me in the long run, or is this going to hurt me? It's your decision, your life. It's up to you to make those type of calls. And then not only are you making those type of calls, I make sure that I check with God first and be like, hey, is this really like the path I want to go down? Like, is this really what I should do? Like, help me out, because I need to be sure, because I don't want to make the wrong move. And that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to look to him for the guidance, look to him for the help that we need to be able to be successful. And like we were talking about before, the story that God has planned for us, it's all a part of God's plan. Everything that goes down in our life is already locked in. It's all a part of God's plan. And the only way that we can know that for sure is by asking the person that wrote the story himself.
You know what, guys? Let me ask y'all a question too. I want to ask somebody. I guess part of my purpose is also being able to provoke this a youth generation that really wants to have a hunger and a fire to want to serve God. What do y'all feel like it's going to take for more youth to want to really come to the Lord and really feel like it's cool and dope to just want to be able to serve God without any limitations, man? What do y'all feel about that?
Being around this new generation of young people, we still young, we just, we look like, being around high schoolers and the young people, they want to be heard. Oftentimes, that's why in my classroom or any space that I'm in with the young people, I always set the precedence that, this is a safe space to be who you are authentically, and come as you are, and be comfortable in this space to do that. Because if you feel like you're in a safe space where you can be your authentic self and there's no judgment, then you'll feel more comfortable being that. And then you can grow into that, and you can learn yourself, and then you can learn others. And then you feel comfortable expressing yourself. So they want to be heard. They want to be listened to. They want to have an ear, somebody's ear. And they're going to go to that person, whomever it is, that they can trust, that will give them their ear and just listen. Because oftentimes as adults, we may knowingly or not knowingly flex our authority on the young people. But they already know who's in charge. They're smart. They know that this is the adult. They're in charge. They have the authority. So in my opinion, there's no need to flex it, but just have a mutual respect and know what the boundary is. But then also at the same time, they know that, I can go to Mr. Brandon at any time, whether he's my teacher or not, and he's going to hear me, one. If there's some accountability needs to go there, he's going to hold me accountable. Yeah. But he's also going to give me advice or just points on how I can get better from it. If I'm doing something right, he's going to praise me and tell me to keep going. So I think, to your point, how to get the younger generation to make it seem like, well, it is cool to worship Christ. It is cool to follow God. It is cool to serve God because all things flow from Him. So I think, in my opinion, getting the younger generation more interested and have a hunger and a desire to serve God is to just allow them to be and to just listen to Him. Because if you listen, you ask them one question and they will just go. And you probably won't even recognize the person you're talking to. You never heard him talk so much.
That is so good. Real quick, too, I want to go here. I feel, too, even us as parents, we have to listen to that word obedience to be submissive our own selves as parents, because when we feel like we are the top up here, then that's when we can't even hear our children when they're down here. And I feel like if we can both get to a level to where we're both leveling up at that same volume of submitting, not also to one another, but first to God, then we can really have an ear to hear what the Spirit is saying right now to us. Because to be honest with you, like you just said, it's being able to be open and have an ear just to let them know they're in a safe place. Because I feel like that's where we're missing. A lot of teens are feeling like they're going to be judged and be, here I go again. They're going to criticize me and this and this and that. But it's not even about that. It's about really wanting to make us better so we can all level up to serve the same God, man. Please.
I feel like there is that, but at the same time, like when it comes to the younger people, I've noticed, younger people like myself, I noticed that when they do go to most churches, from like what I'm hearing from my peers, that they're not comfortable because of the fact that although some people do conduct themselves as Christians, sometimes, not all times, do we see what goes on behind the scenes. We don't see what goes on or how they talk to the person, away from the crowd. So we have to understand that, like, okay, you can't conduct yourself one way this second, and then the next second, as soon as you get some time alone and you feel like no one's around, you conduct yourself a different way. And that's what they do. Some people do. They judge. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why kids and teenagers in our generation, they do not feel comfortable because of the judgment that are coming from our older people, our parents, everyone. Because, at Fallbrook, they welcome everybody. They open arms, everything. But has to be some type of line. You know, they do love us, they love everyone. But also, some people don't understand that there's a line that you have to stop at. There's a point.
Basically, you're saying more like boundaries to stick into the boundaries, and that's good because again, I feel like this is the conversation that's honestly needed right now because a lot of times we really take that for granted. And I like what you just said. Can we still be that same consistent person behind closed doors? You know what I'm saying? And even I myself, I'm still working on myself to become that better parent, that better man, that better husband, everything that God has called me to be, because trust me, it's challenging. But again, we serve a God who is all knowing, who is all powerful. And I just know right now that he has given us this opportunity, this platform to help all the youth, man. Who's going to say? Somebody about to say something. Sorry.
I was initially going to say, just to piggyback off of what you said, all that comes with, like they said, discipline and obedience. And yes, that develops pressure too. Don't take that pressure and run away from it. Like, okay, this is basketball player Flage. It's a quote that she said. She said, don't let the pressure crumble you. Let the pressure make you into a diamond, basically. Because God give you pressure. Give that pressure to God and let him turn you into a diamond and evolve to what you're supposed to be. Don't just run away from it or let your anxiety and your depression stop you from being you. Basically, let your pressure turn you into a diamond and let yourself glow. Don't play on yourself. Evolve yourself.
That's good. That's good.
I just wanted to say something real quick to piggyback off of that. I do kind of have a trouble with my temper. I get very mad very easily, but I'm learning how to control it. And how I get over that is I think about someone that's trying to make me mad, or someone that's trying to push my buttons. I think about it. I'm thinking in my head I want you to think that you have me in the palm of your hand right now. And what I want you to do is I want you to get so mad thinking about me that you squeeze me so hard that the pressure turns me and you see what I really am. Because it's a lot of people don't understand. They don't see it. They just see what you are on the outside. But they don't really see how beautiful you really are on the inside. They don't see how much of a great friend you can really be.
That's good. That's good.
Real quick,
Take your time.
I want to issue a challenge. I'll issue a charge to two groups of people. The older generation, because I'm all about bridging the gap in between the older generation and the younger generation. And the year I was born, I'm kind of in the middle, which is a cool place to be. Yeah, it's a cool place to be. The older generation, my charge to the older generation is that, yes, you all have been here. You have years on us. You have years of wisdom on us. Being aligned with God, you have his alignment and his wisdom. But at some point in time, when you were growing up, coming along, no matter what generation or decade, somebody was patient with you, somebody was understanding with you, somebody showed you grace, gave you extended grace when you absolutely did not deserve it. So my charge to the older generation is to have that empathy, have that understanding and patience, and just remember the same grace, understanding, and patience that somebody gave you. Extend that to the younger generation to coming behind you. You may not understand. You may not understand the music, the dance, the dress, the lingo, none of it. But if you can just open your ear, open your heart, and just listen and try to ask questions and have a conversation, then you could gather understanding, because the person that you want to understand, ask them, they have the answers, they can tell you. That's my charge to the older generation. The younger generation, the younger generation, and just anybody who's dealing with this in general, because I know people, I have friends who've had experiences in the church. And me being a person who's been in church all his life, blood bought, born again. I understand why it's hard for some people to go to church. I get it. The things that they talk about, their negative experiences, I understand, and I get that. But I also want to say, don't let a negative experience stop you from getting what you need spiritually. Because although, yes, it does say where 2 or 3 gathered, I am present. Yes, but the word also talks about assembling in the house of God. So it's also equally important to go to the house of God and assemble. So if you have a job and your boss don't treat you right, you're going to go back to that job because you want your check and you need a job. Same thing with spiritually. If you know that it is important to assemble in the house of God to get that spiritual check, to make sure you're getting spiritually paid, are you going to just stop going to the job to get that? If God says that's important. So my charge is to anybody who's had a negative experience, I understand, I get it, but just take a moment and just think, and don't let that stop you from going to the house of God and getting what you need to feed your soul spiritually, because the church is a place that's full of imperfect people. Nobody got it right.
That's so good.
You know what I'm saying? So that's my charge to both groups of people and just everybody just in general.
Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Just to piggyback off what Brandon said, because I'm in that age group of the bridge gappers as well. So just speaking to the younger generation, the teenagers, the kids that are just finding out about God and building their relationship with God. So it is your relationship, your personal relationship. So even though you have those negative experiences at church, or something may happen, even the older generation may have those negative experiences at church, remember that relationship with God is personal. And so just like he said, you go back to your job when HR had done something to you or your boss did something to you. Yeah, just go back to where you can assemble in the church and be with God, with your peers, and you're able to brush that off. And now to my young people who are just figuring out your relationship with God, because I thought about when I was younger, about 11 and 12 years old, when I was getting bullied and when nobody was like me, and so nobody wanted to be my friend. And so like I had all these thoughts. And so I built my relationship with God by just starting with prayer, and God became my safe space. And then these things start coming to me. I am the head and not the tail. I am the lender and not the borrower. I am above and not beneath. I am that. I am a royal priesthood. And when I realize I'm a son of God, I realize I am a prince. I am that and then some. All because I have been born again. All because I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. All because I could tell God anything, and by mercy and grace, I am forgiven. And He doesn't judge me. He still loves me. The dirtiest me, He still loves me. People would disappoint you, but God would never disappoint you. So remember that when you want to open your eyes and build your relationship with God.
That is so good. And I want to leave us with this, because I really feel like we got somewhere today, and I'm hoping that this has blessed our viewers. And the word church is ecclesia, right, in the Greek, and it means the called out ones, right? So I want to make sure that we really massage that word church in the sense of being a called out one. I was listening to how everybody was saying about being offended in the church and all these things, but notice the church means to be a called out one. It doesn't blend in with everybody. And I think of us going to a system of church the way we have embraced it and embodied it, we're not looking as it being the called out ones, right? So when you've been called out, that means that you're going to be set apart from everybody else. It doesn't mean that you're going to just be like everybody else that you see that might come into the building, but you're coming as a called out one that God has called you. Does that make sense? Because a lot of times we're going into a building of a system of a religious setting, not really knowing that we've been called out. Ooh, that's so good. Because if I'm a called out one, that means that I'm different from everybody else. I'm not going to speak the same way. I'm not going to act the same way, because God has called me to be different than the system that I've been in. So that's why I feel like the body of Christ has been offended with so many things because we have put our own stamps and our own idols and our own images because it doesn't look like a called out one. Is that all right if I'm just trying to bring this, I'm just trying to really bring this in, because if you're called out, you don't fit in the system. So of course you're going to be offended. Of course you're going to feel like, oh my God, why am I feeling this way? Because you're not called to be in that system. The church, it says CHURCH. You are in the middle. That's you. You are the church. You are the called out one. So guess what? Even sometimes if we're not able to step into the building, can you still represent what the building looks like? The called out one. So, man, I hope that we have really gotten somewhere this episode. I love you guys. Again, be the change, because why? You are the change for such a time as this. Until next time, what are we going to do? Level up! Let's go.
If you want your mind to be free, level up, y'all. To see the kingdom with me. Where's it at? It's inside of you. It's inside of me. That's right. So let go.
Next on Level Up with Jay Miles. The word conviction, watch this. The word conviction in the Greek, in the Bible, it means this: to prove and to convince. So watch this. Holy Spirit is not coming to make us feel bad, but he's coming to prove to us what the truth really is. Isn't that good?